The phone rang at 3:17 inches the morning. I knew before I even looked at the screen that it wasn't good news. Nobody calls at that hour unless someone has died or someone is dying. I fumbled for my reading glasses on the nightstand, my heart already racing. Unknown number. Main area code. Hello? My voice cracked, thick with sleep and dread. Is this Eleanor? Eleanor Hartley? A woman's voice. Professional, careful. Yes. Who is this? My name is Rebecca Winters. I'm a social worker at Clearwater Memory Care in Portland, Oregon. I'm calling about your sister. The air left my lungs. I don't have a sister. Patricia Morrison. Born Patricia Ann Hartley. August 3 R.E. 1962. My husband stirred beside me. I was gripping the phone so hard my knuckles had gone white. My sister drowned in 1978, 47 years ago. Mrs. Hartley, I understand this must be shocking. Patricia has been a resident here for 3 years. She has advanced dementia, and her condition has deteriorated significantly. She's been asking for you. We found an old photograph in her belongings with names written on the back. It took us months to track you down. I sat there in the dark, my 67-year-old heart hammering like I was 16 again. Like I was standing on that dock in August 1978, watching the Coast Guard boats searching the water, watching my mother collapse, watching my father turn to stone. That's impossible, I whispered. We buried her. We had a funeral. You buried an empty casket, Mrs. Hartley. Your sister is alive, and she's asking for you. I'm not a reckless person. I raised 3 children. I taught high school English for 34 years. I've been married to Robert for 42 years. I don't chase ghosts. I don't believe in miracles. I stopped believing in miracles the summer I turned 19, and my little sister disappeared into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of our family's cottage in Bar Harbor, Maine. Patricia was 16 that summer. I was 19, home from college for the break. She was beautiful in that careless teenage way, all long limbs and sun-bleached hair, and that laugh that sounded like wind chimes. She was also pregnant, though I didn't know it then. Nobody knew it then. We'd fought the night before she disappeared. God, we'd fought. I can still see her face, flushed and furious, telling me I didn't understand anything, that I thought I was so much better than everyone just because I was in college. She'd been sneaking out to meet some boy. I'd caught her climbing back through her bedroom window at 2 a.m. and threatened to tell our parents. You're going to ruin your life, I'd hissed at her, trying not to wake Mom and Dad. My life is already ruined, she'd shot back. You just can't see it. Those were the last words she ever said to me. Or so I thought. The next morning, her bed was empty. Her window was open. We found her shoes on the dock, her towel on the rocks. The water was calm that day, deceptively calm. The Coast Guard searched for 3 days. They found nothing. No body. No trace. The prevailing theory was that she'd gone for an early morning swim, got caught in a riptide, and drowned. It happens sometimes, even to strong swimmers. The currents around Bar Harbor could be treacherous. My father wanted to believe she'd run away, but there was no evidence of that. Her purse was still in her room, her wallet, the $23 she'd saved from her summer job at the ice cream shop. We held a funeral 2 weeks later. Empty casket. My mother sobbed through the entire service. My father didn't cry at all. Not once. Not ever. He just became hollow, like someone had reached inside him and scooped out everything vital. They never recovered. My mother died of a heart attack 6 years later. She was only 51. My father lasted until 2003, but he wasn't really living. He was just waiting. And I carried the guilt. Every single day for 47 years I carried it. If I hadn't threatened her, if I hadn't been so self-righteous, if I'd just talked to her instead of at her, if I'd understood that whatever she was going through was bigger than sneaking out to see a boy. Robert was awake now, sitting up, his hand on my shoulder. Ellie? What is it? I couldn't speak. I just handed him the phone. listened as Rebecca Winters repeated her impossible story, watched his face change from confusion to shock to something I couldn't read. When he hung up, we sat there in the dark for a long time. "It could be a scam," he finally said. "There are people who prey on families, who look up old missing persons cases, and I know. We should call the police, or a private investigator. Have them check it out before you." "I'm going. Ellie." "I'm going, Robert. Even if it's not her, even if it's a mistake or a scam or a delusion, I have to go." He didn't argue. He knew me well enough by now. He just nodded and said, "Then I'm coming with you." But in the morning, when I was calmer, more rational, I did my research. I spent hours on the computer, searching for scams involving long-lost family members. I found dozens of stories. People who'd been contacted by supposed relatives, asked for money, or tricked into revealing personal information for identity theft. Elaborate schemes involving fake care facilities, hired actors, forged documents. I called Clearwater Memory Care, verified it was a real place, talked to the director, a man named Dr. Singh, who confirmed everything Rebecca Winters had told me. They weren't asking for money. They just wanted to reunite a dying woman with her family. "How do you know she's Patricia Hartley?" I asked him. "We don't, not definitively. That's why we're hoping you can help us confirm her identity. She's been here 3 years, Mrs. Hartley. Her dementia is quite advanced. But she has lucid moments. And in those moments, she talks about Maine, about a sister named Eleanor, about drowning." That word hit me like a fist. Drowning? She says she almost drowned, that she wanted to drown. She gets very agitated when she talks about it. I booked a flight for the next day. Robert wanted to come, but someone needed to stay with our youngest daughter, who was dealing with her own crisis, a messy divorce and 2 small children who needed their grandfather, so I went alone. The flight to Portland felt endless. I couldn't read, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything except Patricia's face the last time I saw her, the anger in her eyes, the things she'd said. My life is already ruined. Had she known she was pregnant? Had that been what she meant? Had that been why she'd run? But the shoes on the dock, the towel. Everyone had been so sure. I rented a car at the airport and drove to the memory care facility, a low, pleasant building with a garden out front. Rebecca Winters met me in the lobby. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "I want you to be prepared," she said as she walked me down a quiet hallway. "Patricia has good days and bad days. Today is not a good day. She may not know you. She may be confused or agitated. Try not to take it personally. How did she end up here? Who's been taking care of her? That's part of what we're hoping you can help us understand. She was brought in by a neighbor 3 years ago. She'd been living in a small apartment under the name Margaret Flynn. The neighbor found her wandering the street, confused, unable to find her way home. She had no identification, no family contacts. The state took over her care. For 3 years, no one knew who she was. She couldn't tell us, and there was no one looking for Margaret Flynn. It wasn't until recently that she started talking about Maine, about Eleanor, about being Patricia. We thought at first it was just the dementia, confabulation. But then we found the photograph. She led me into a small room. Afternoon sun streamed through the window, and there, in a chair by the window, was an old woman. My breath caught. She looked nothing like Patricia. This woman was elderly, fragile, her hair white and thin, her hands shook in her lap. Her face was lined and sunken, but her eyes, dear God, her eyes were the same shade of blue-green I remembered. The same eyes I saw when I looked in the mirror. "Patricia?" I whispered. She looked up at me, confused. "Do I know you?" I moved closer, my legs shaking. "It's Eleanor, your sister." Something flickered across her face. Recognition? Hope? Fear? It was gone before I could name it. "I don't have a sister," she said. Then, more agitated, "I did have a sister, Eleanor, but she hates me. She told me I was ruining my life. I felt tears burning my eyes. I didn't hate you. I never hated you. I was pregnant, she said, her voice suddenly clear, focused. Did you know that? I was 16 and pregnant and so scared. Jimmy said we'd run away together. He said we'd go to California. But then I couldn't find him. I went to his house and his mother said he'd left. Just left. Joined the Navy or something. Left me. I pulled up a chair, sat down close to her. Patricia, what happened that night? Everyone thought you drowned. Her eyes were distant now, looking past me at something I couldn't see. I was going to. I walked out to the dock and I was going to just keep walking. Into the water, into the dark. It seemed easier than telling Mom and Dad. Easier than watching everyone look at me like I'd ruined everything. But you didn't. I couldn't. I stood there for so long, and I couldn't do it. So I put my shoes on the dock, my towel on the rocks, made it look like I had. And then I walked to the highway and I hitchhiked. Some truck driver picked me up, took me all the way to Boston. My heart was breaking. Why didn't you come home? Why didn't you call? She turned to look at me then, and for a moment, she was 16 again, because everyone thought I was dead. And I thought maybe that was better. Better than being the girl who got knocked up and abandoned. Better than disappointing everyone. Her voice cracked. It was supposed to be easier this way. It wasn't easier, I said, tears streaming down my face now. Mom died still looking for you. Dad never smiled again. I've spent 47 years thinking it was my fault. She frowned, the clarity slipping away. Who are you? I'm Eleanor, your sister. I don't have a sister. Rebecca touched my shoulder gently. This is common. The memories come and go. Why don't we take a break? We stepped outside. I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. Is it really her? Could it be someone else who just knew details about Patricia? That's why we need the DNA test. Are you willing to do one? Yes, absolutely. They took our samples right there. Cheek swabs, simple and quick. The results would take 3 days. 3 days, 72 hours, 4,320 minutes. I stayed in Portland, got a hotel room near the facility, visited Patricia every day. Sometimes she knew me, sometimes she didn't. Sometimes she was 16, worried about a boy named Jimmy. Sometimes she was 30, talking about a job at a diner. Sometimes she was 50, talking about a car accident, injuries, hospitals, living alone. She'd lived an entire life I knew nothing about. 47 years of birthdays and Christmases and ordinary days. She'd been alive while we mourned her. Alive while we buried an empty coffin. Alive while our parents died of grief. I called Robert every night, told him everything. He was supportive, steady, but even he sounded skeptical. If it's her, Ellie, and I'm not saying it's not, but if it is, she left. She chose to let you all think she was dead. Are you going to be okay with that? I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. On the second day, Patricia had a very lucid afternoon. We sat in the garden together. She held my hand. I tried to come back once, she said quietly. This was maybe 5, 6 years after. I was living in Seattle. I had a job, a little apartment. I was doing okay. I thought maybe enough time had passed. Maybe I could explain. But I drove by the house and I saw Dad in the yard, and he looked so old, Eleanor, so broken. And I thought, what right do I have to come back now? What right do I have to make them relive it all? You had every right, I said fiercely. You were their daughter. I was a ghost. I'd been a ghost so long, I didn't know how to be real anymore. What about the car accident? Rebecca mentioned. That was in the 90s. Hit and run in Portland. I was in the hospital for weeks. Had some brain damage. That's when things started getting fuzzy. I kept forgetting things, getting confused. I'd remember Maine perfectly, but not what I'd done the day before. Eventually, I guess it just got worse. The dementia. She looked at me, and her eyes were so sad. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I'm so sorry I did this to you. To all of you. I'm sorry too. I whispered. I'm sorry I wasn't someone you felt safe enough to tell. On the third day, Dr. Singh called me into his office. He had the DNA results. His face was unreadable. Mrs. Hartley, I want you to sit down. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. Just tell me. It's a match. 99.7% probability. She is definitively your biological sister. The room tilted. I gripped the arms of the chair. She's really Patricia. Yes. I don't remember much of the next few minutes. I think I cried. I think Dr. Singh handed me tissues. I think I called Robert and couldn't get words out, and he had to wait while I sobbed. Patricia was alive. My sister, who I'd mourned for 47 years, who I'd dreamed about, who I'd talked to in my head at every major life milestone, was alive. But there was another truth I couldn't avoid. Somewhere, 47 years ago, we'd held a funeral for my sister. We'd buried a coffin, an empty coffin. We'd never found a body. But what if there had been another girl in the water that night? What if someone else's daughter had drowned, and her family spent decades not knowing what happened to her? I brought it up with the police, filed a report, asked them to look into missing persons from that time period. They were kind but not optimistic. It had been 47 years. The trail was cold, but they said they'd try. I think about her sometimes. That unknown girl, if she existed. If her family is still out there, wondering. I left flowers at Patricia's empty grave before I left Maine, changed the headstone. It now reads, "In memory of those lost to the sea. Unknown, but not forgotten." It was the least I could do. The question now was what to do about Patricia. She was my sister, but she was also a stranger. She was dying, the doctors said. The dementia was progressing rapidly. She had months, maybe a year. My children were skeptical. "You don't know her," my oldest son said gently. "You don't owe her anything, Mom. She left you. She let you suffer." But that wasn't true, was it? She'd been suffering too. She'd been a scared 16-year-old girl who'd made an impossible choice and then didn't know how to undo it. I brought her home to Maine, to our house in Portland, not far from where she'd grown up. We set up a hospital bed in our spare room, hired a nurse. Robert was uncertain at first, but he came around. "She's family," he finally said. "That has to mean something. Patricia has good days and bad days. On good days, she sits in our garden and tells me stories about her life, about the baby she gave up for adoption in 1979, a little girl she never got to know, about working as a waitress in diners across the Northwest, about a man she almost married in the 80s, about small kindnesses and quiet loneliness and the weight of a secret that got heavier every year. On bad days, she doesn't know where she is, doesn't know who I am. Sometimes she's 16 again, panicking about being pregnant. Sometimes she's 6, asking for our mother. My grandchildren are confused by her. "Is she really your sister?" they ask. "But she's so old." "She is my sister," I tell them. "But we missed a lot of time." Some nights, I sit by her bedside and watch her sleep. I try to see the girl I knew in this old woman's face. Sometimes I can. Mostly I can't. She's Patricia, but she's also Margaret Flynn. She's my sister, but she's also a stranger. She's someone I thought I knew completely, and someone I never really knew at all. The truth is messy. There's no neat ending here. I'm grateful she's alive. I'm angry that she left. I'm heartbroken over the years we lost. I'm amazed by her resilience. I feel all of these things at once, and they don't cancel each other out. They just exist together, tangled and complicated. One afternoon, during one of her lucid moments, she asks me, "Do you forgive me?" I think about it, really think about it, about the 19-year-old girl who lost her sister, about my parents who died still grieving, about the 47 years of wondering what I could have done differently. "I forgive you," I say, and I mean it. "But I also need you to forgive me, for not being someone you could turn to, for not seeing how scared you were." She reaches for my hand. Her grip is weak but steady. I forgive you, she whispers. I forgive both of us. That night, I lie in bed next to Robert, unable to sleep. He rolls over, wraps an arm around me. Are you okay? He asks. I don't know, I admit. I got her back. But it's not the her I lost. She's not the Patricia I remember. And I'm not the Eleanor she left behind. We're both different people now. Maybe that's okay, he says. Maybe you don't need to be who you were. Maybe you just need to be who you are now, together. I think about that, about the impossibility of going back, about how you can't undo 47 years, can't recover the time lost, can't be the sisters you would have been. But maybe you can be the sisters you are now, in this moment, in whatever time is left. Patricia died 4 months later. Quietly, in her sleep, in our spare room with the morning light coming through the window, I was holding her hand. We buried her for real this time, next to our parents in the Bar Harbor Cemetery, her actual body in the ground. My children came, my grandchildren, Robert's whole family. Some of Patricia's old high school friends, now in their 60s, who couldn't believe she'd been alive all this time. At the funeral, I talked about forgiveness, about second chances, about how love is complicated and families are messy and sometimes the people we think we've lost forever find their way back to us, even if it's not in the way we expected. After everyone left, I stood at her grave for a long time, thought about that night in 1978, the 16-year-old girl standing on the dock, trying to decide between drowning and disappearing, the impossible choice she made, the ripples that spread out from that moment, touching so many lives. I thought about the life she lived without us, the decades of loneliness and secrets, the strength it must have taken to keep going, to build a life, even as her past chased her. And I thought about those 4 months we had at the end, the conversations, the laughter, the tears, the way she'd squeeze my hand on her bad days, even when she didn't know who I was, the way she'd say thank you when I brushed her hair, the way she'd smile when my grandchildren would peek shyly into her room. It wasn't enough time. It could never be enough time. But it was what we had, and we didn't waste it. I think that's all any of us can do. Take the time we're given, however it comes to us, and try not to waste it. Before I left the cemetery, I placed flowers on Patricia's grave, and then I walked to that nearby headstone, the one that reads unknown, but not forgotten, and I placed flowers there too. 2 girls, 2 graves, 2 families, forever changed by one summer night in 1978. I may never know the full story, but I know this. My sister came back to me. Not the way I'd dreamed, not whole, not young, not in time to undo the grief, but she came back. And I got to tell her I loved her. Got to hear her say it back. That has to be enough. It has to be. I still talk to her sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep. I tell her about my day, about her nieces and nephews and great-nieces and great-nephews, about the garden blooming, about the osprey that nest near the bay, about the life that goes on the way it always does. And sometimes, I swear, I can feel her listening. Not the Patricia who was 16, not the Margaret who was lost, but whoever she became in between, my sister, my stranger, the girl who drowned and didn't, the woman who came home. She's with our parents now. I have to believe that. Have to believe they understand. Have to believe forgiveness is possible, even for impossible choices. Especially for impossible choices. That's what I tell myself on the hard days. On the days when the anger sneaks back in, when I think about everything we lost, everything that could have been different if she'd just told us, if she'd just come home. But then I remember. She was 16, scared, pregnant, alone, and I was 19, righteous, unforgiving. Neither of us knew then what we know now. We were just sisters, just human, just doing the best we could with impossible situations. And in the end, we found each other again. That has to count for something. It has to.